My name is Marlette Rebhorn. I'm a professor of history at Austin Community College. And I've been asked to give you a little chat today about a concept that's rather new in history. It's called ghost acreage. Ghost acreage allows us to understand multiple uses of the same land that you know that's there, like the street in front of your house, but which may not be utilized. In the late 19th century, so great was population pressure that it became necessary to start to utilize land that everybody knew was there, but it had not been properly utilized or fully utilized up until then. One big example of this is sewers. With more people living close together, why they had to figure out a way to get rid of the sewage instead of just pumping it underneath somebody's house or throwing it out in the street. The city that took the lead in this was Paris, and Paris developed an extraordinary network of tunnels so tall men could walk upright in them under every single street in Paris at a slight angle so that the water would continue to run downhill until it reached the River Seine. The way it worked was rather interesting. It did not use electricity, did not use pumps. What it did was basically there was a trench in the center, and a man would walk along. That trench would be blocked for a bit. The water would build up behind, and then he would quickly release the blockage, and it would flush everything with that whoosh of water down several more blocks. The sewers were huge, and it was designed to handle anything, including, it doesn't happen often, but flood levels in Paris. This was such a marvel that people in the late 19th century visited the sewers, as one can do today in Paris. You can take a tour. You sometimes ride in a boat or walk on the ledges on the outside of the tunnels, and they show you how things work. They're still in usage today. These things are so complex. There's one under every street in Paris. And what it means, for example, is if you're sort of walking along one day and manage to drop your keys through a grate into the sewer, all you need to do is call the city authority, and they will send somebody right down under that particular sewer and fetch out your keys. We lost our keys and had them back in 2 hours back to our hotel. Not bad. As the 19th century progressed, that is the late 1800s, it became necessary as well to utilize that huge area built of brick under the streets for other things, like, for example, laying telegraph cables, pneumatic tubes. Pneumatic tubes are like the ones you find in a bank where you pull your car up and a package appears, you put your things in there and you send it off into the teller, who then sends it back to you. In the beginning, to communicate quickly across the River Seine, certainly government agencies did, they used these pneumatic tubes, and they were laid on the roof of the sewers underground. As well, electric cables and the like. In Paris, if you go there today, you won't find telephone poles, you won't find electric poles. Everything is underground where it doesn't get hit by lightning and is therefore much more reliable. But it also became necessary to get people from one place to another quickly. People had used wagons and buses drawn by horses, but horses dropped their leavings and it was unsanitary and it slowed things down. And so it was in the late 1800s that Paris began to experiment with subways. And the subways were placed between the street level and the sewers, which were down some 40-50 feet. And the subway would be the metro, as they call it in Paris, in between. Now, here, for example, in Texas, in Houston, if you visit the downtown area, you'll discover that there are large underground complexes with stores and shops and the rest. This is especially true in places like, say, Toronto in Canada, where the winters are very harsh. They too have utilized what would otherwise be ghost acreage, the area under the streets, to create almost a second city. And therefore, when it's very cold or snowy, you can easily pass from one place to another, but not outside where you'll freeze, but rather down below the ground. And a lot, if you take the concept of ghost acreage even farther, things like, for example, space, satellites that allow us to use our cell phones and what have you, is utilizing space we all knew was there, the sky, the space, etc. But it is now being utilized rather than just there, and you can therefore get more services into a relatively small place. Remember that as we approach 1900, there wasn't really much more new land to be discovered. Okay, some people are going to go to the South Pole or something, but the fact was that to accommodate a growing population with increasing needs, there wasn't like an area, a great frontier of the United States to be explored. Everybody knew the land that was there. Now the concept was to utilize space more effectively, and utilizing this ghost acreage to do so. And the concept has progressed into the 20th century, where again we keep tearing up the streets of Austin and other cities to put in things, where the Parisians just add more things like cables or fiber optic cables or what have you in their sewer system. So ghost acreage is something that is very important as we reach the end of the amount of land we have and still have more people we have to accommodate.